whatever we discussed yesterday, the HANA replication configuration. So we'll do the same configuration now. So here we have the two hosts as part of the HANA HA replication. So we have the two types here, right? One is the replication modes, replication modes. So replication modes. The second one is the operation modes here. Operations modes. So operation modes. So we have the types of modes are available in SAP. While registering the secondary, so we will get this replication modes and operation modes here. Replication modes and operation modes here. So here let's check. First of all, both the host and databases are up and running here. In the primary, it is up and running fine. Secondary, so we are just checking the secondary. Okay, this is running fine. So you can go to here, PRI primary here. So database is so running status here. You can see this is fine. So databases are running fine here. Then secondary, we are just doing the restarts. Okay, that's fine. So secondary, we are just doing the restarts. So that is doing here. Okay. So meanwhile, while it is coming up to the normal status here, okay, it is starting node. So what we can do here, secondary IP got changed. So let's take to host. This is the 121. HDB ADM. First, you need to check whether you are unable to connect from the studio. You need to check whether DB is up and running or not. In case of DB is not up and running, you need to start it. DB up and running means here the process should be up and running here. In case of the process are not live, then DB is down status. We need to start the database here. So as part of this configuration, while registering the secondary into primary, we have some concepts here, right? HANA replication modes and SAP HANA operation modes here. SAP HANA. So while registering the secondary into primary, we have this configuration here, right? Replication modes and operation modes here. In HANA, they are three types of replication modes, right? So three types of, normally two types, but in the studio you will get the one more operational modes, right? One more operational modes. So then here we can use the concepts like there are the three replication modes are available here. There are the three replication modes are available here. Sync, then sync mem and async. Okay. Then coming to the operational modes, so we have the delta data shipping and the log replay mechanism. Delta data shipping, the log replay mechanism here. Delta data shipping and the log replay mechanism here. So what is mean by replication? Four types of sorry, there are the three types of replication. What is this replication modes in HANA? Right? So system replication. What is meant by replication? Replication is a process of replicating or copying the primary system database data to secondary database within the same or external data center. The database can simultaneously, it will simultaneously synchronize the data with the primary. So, and with this replication. So, when registering the secondary into primary, we have to provide this replication modes and everything here. Replication modes and everything we have to provide it here. So here there are the three modes here: sync, sync mem, async. The first of all, let's take the difference between the sync and async, right? Sync and async. This is the primary. There are the two databases we have here. There are the two databases we have here. So what is mean by sync here? What is mean by sync? Sync means synchronous. Synchronous means it will wait for the acknowledgement from the secondary, primary and secondary. Okay. Primary will send the data to secondary. Then secondary will give you the acknowledgement saying that, so I have received your first transaction. Please go ahead and commit. Like that, it will get the one acknowledgement. Then immediately the primary will send the another transaction to secondary. Then there is a series sequence wise the receive and acknowledgement, receive, acknowledgement, receive, acknowledgement will happen in the synchronous replication. If you choose the replication synchronous, so there is a frequently it will send the data to secondary, then secondary will receive the acknowledgement, secondary will send the acknowledgement back to primary saying that I received the transaction. So here in this mode, in this replication modes, what exactly will happen? There is a consistency of the data synchronization between primary to secondary. There is no data loss activities and everything here, right? Primary system commits the transaction. When the primary system commit the transaction, after it gets reply, the log was received by the secondary system, stored in memory here, which means primary will send the data log to the secondary. Secondary will send the acknowledgement back to the primary saying that I received it. Then only it will commit the next transaction. Next transaction here. In that synchronous, you have the two types here: sync mem and synchronous. Sync mem,
Hey,
sync mem means here the primary system, the primary system commit the transaction after get the reply, the log was received by the secondary system, especially that is stored into the in memory. If the log received by secondary, that is stored into the in memory, that is called the sync mem. So the delay for the transaction in the primary system is smaller. So there is a delay is smaller here because that only include the time of transmitting the data, IO speed, and secondary, so does not influence with the primary system performance and everything here. So it's keep on sending the logs. Then transaction once it is committed, received in the in memory, then only it will send the acknowledgement back to the here. Then it will send the one more transaction to primary like that. So it will do it here. But here when the connection to secondary system is lost, primary system continues to the transaction processing. It write the changes to the only local disk. It will write the changes to the local disk only here. Why? Because in the primary we have the in memory and a disk folder. So then it will write the data to the disk folder here. But there is a data loss occurs here as well. When the primary and secondary fail at the same time, while secondary is connected, then the data is not written to the disk. So neither on the primary or in the secondary, the data not written into the disk here. Also, whenever the takeover is executed while secondary is, suppose secondary is down, immediately you done the takeover. Takeover, then data is arrived on the secondary is outdated compared to the primary. So it is outdated, which means up to here, it is synchronization done. Then suddenly secondary is down after some hours when you use the takeover. Then takeover means So the secondary data is outdated, right? Secondary data is outdated. There is no synchronization is not happening. Then up to some point here synchronization, up to some point synchronization, there is no data loss happens here, right? So but this option provides the better performance because of it's not necessary to wait for disk to IO on the secondary. It is writing into the main memory. It's directly writing into the main memory here. Primary directly writing into the main memory, then that's it. It will send the acknowledgement back to here, right? So, but when the connection to the secondary is lost, primary will lose the connection to the secondary. What will happen here? Primary will continues. Primary will continues to write the transaction at the disk level. Disk level, it will write the transaction here. So when it comes to the synchronous, not the sync mem. It's a synchronous here. Synchronous means the primary system waits committing the transaction until it will get the replay. The log is persisted in the secondary system here, means storage level. Here, when the log is storing into the memory level, that is called the sync mem. When the log is storing into the disk level, persistence storage. Normally, we will call it as the persistence storage. Then this is called the sync. Sync mem. Sync means synchronization to the disk layer. Sync mem means synchronization to the memory level, main memory level here. Right? Log is persisted in the secondary system here. This option guarantee that disk means this option guarantee that immediate consistency between both the systems. Immediate consistency between the both the systems here. But when the connection to secondary is lost, the primary system still continues to write the logs to the local disk. There is no data loss. That is common. Synchronize. So in case of connection is lost to the secondary, still it write the data to the disk layer level. It will lose it here. So no data loss occurs. So no data loss occurs. Nothing will happen here. So data loss occur when the takeover is executed, when the secondary, while the secondary system disconnected, when the takeover is executed, that time we have the data loss will happen, right? Additionally, this replication mode can run with the full sync. This we can also run the full sync option here. So that the main thing is here, you need to notice sync means log will be stored into the disk format level. Sync mem means here the data will be stored into the main memory level. That is the difference here. So once it is loaded to the main memory, then it will be moved to the it will be moved to the disk level. Every 5 minutes save point occurs, then it will come to the here, right? That is the secondary. That is the internal part here. But main replication is data will move to the here, then again same data will come to the disk level. But if you use the sync option, directly data will be persisted into the disk layer level. Disk layer level, it will be persist here, right? That is a synchronous. What is mean by asynchronous here? Asynchronous is so it does not require any acknowledgement here. It's keep on sending the data to the primary. So, but sending the log without waiting for the response. There is no delay because data transmission is asynchronous mode here. So, asynchronous mode means so the primary will not bother about whether my secondary will receive or not the transaction. It keep on sending the data to the secondary, but it will not bother about my primary received the transaction or secondary received the transaction or not. So that will wait for the acknowledgement here, right? So that is the asynchronous mode. Asynchronous mode we will use in the during the disaster recovery scenario. Just give me a minute. I will be back in 2 minutes, 1 minute. Yes. So these are the replication modes. Sync means so primary will bother about the my secondary will receive the transaction or not. Then once received, it will wait for the acknowledgement. Then it will commit the next transaction. Like that, the series wise, sequence wise, it will do the transactions. But the asynchronous mode, it will not bother. It will not bother about whether it is received or not, it won't receive or not. Oh, the primary is still committing the transaction. It will store the data into the here. It will keep on sending to here, but it will not bother about whether the secondary it won't receive the data also. It will send the another acknowledgement. There is no consistency between the primary and secondary here, right? So here these things we have to configure during the configuration of the replication modes here. In the primary system, main thing is here we have to activate the replication. We have to configure the replication here in the primary. So then, so once we have to configure, while configuring, it will ask the register as a primary. Primary we have to enable, and secondary we need to register into primary. So connect to the primary system database, then right click and configure the replication. There we have to perform the, so this options, this configuration option, we have to perform it here. We have to perform the these things, we have to use it here, right? So that is the one thing here. See here, this uh, opening the console, there we have to provide the details, enable. Then secondary, we need to stop it. We need to register the secondary into primary. That is what we have to do it in our case here, right? So that is what we have to do it. So coming to the operational modes, same, while registering the secondary into primary, so that time we have to provide the what type of details and everything we have to provide it here, right? So here, so delta data shipping means what? Delta data shipping means what? Delta data shipping means this mode is here establish the system replication occasionally every 10 minutes. Delta data shipping means every 10 minutes. So every 10 minutes, so the delta data shipping takes place additional to the continuous log shipping. So this will every 10 minutes the delta data will take into the place here. So the secondary system will receive the log entries, but it will not be replay until them you take over, which means primary in the delta data shipping point of time, this operational mode, it will send the data to here, but the log will not be replayed. Log will not be replayed here. Replay means log will not be committed here. It will wait until you take over. Whenever you do the take,
Those pindets of
so whenever you do the takeover of the primary to secondary, that time, whatever the locks are there, all the locks will be replayed. Then only the secondary will become active status here. Active status here. During the takeover, the redo locks, the locks need to be replayed up to the last arrived delta data shipping point. Then the secondary will be become available here. Whenever you use the log replay mechanism in this operation mode, a redo log shipping is done after the system replication. When the system replication was configured, the full data, the redo logs continuously replayed on the secondary system immediately, immediately after arrival. Immediately, as soon as it is received the secondary, immediately the logs will be replayed on the secondary. It will reduce the surplus the during the takeover time. It will reduce the timelines and everything. Why? Because the log is continuously replaying on the secondary. So the secondary system can take over immediately. In case of the primary fails, secondary will continue immediately. It will be available so that operations will happen here. The log replay mechanism. So most of the organizations will use the log replay mechanism. Delta data shipping means occasionally every 10 minutes the additional to the log replay, but every 10 minutes the data will be synchronized here, but it will not be replayed. Logs will be stored into the secondary, but it will not be replayed until the takeover is in place. Until the takeover in place, it will not be replayed on the systems here. So something is happening. Now it's giving a lot of time here. Here, it's giving a lot of time. What happened? The primary system, secondary. So secondary progress information, operations in progress here. The primary, the DB is up and running here. Let's see. Okay. Then HDB hyphen. It is up and running. So ping space KPS4 HANA. Then the ping is working. Ping space KPS4 HANA 2. 2 KPS4 HANA 2. This is wrong. 121 is the host name. So ping space the secondary. Always both the hosts should be pingable status. So we are getting the response, getting the replay from secondary host. So this is fine. So coming to the secondary, not sure what happened here. So ping space KPS4 HANA. Okay, that is getting the response. Ping space KPS4 HANA 2. That is also getting the response. Okay, 2 are okay. Then what I will do here, let's start doing the configuration here. So right click and so system monitoring, configure the system replication, then SID ADM user, then so your password you can use it here. Then it should open the prompt here. Then in the prompt we have to enter the details. So but it's taking time. Same yesterday, it was very fast yesterday. Immediately we configured the replication modes and everything. So otherwise, we have the OS level commands. OS level, one is the HANA Studio level, we can configure it. The second method, OS level, OS level, we can use the HDB NS util commands, you can use it here. HDB NS util commands, we can use it to do the this configurations and everything here, right? So but that is the commands. So let's see HDB NS util commands for replication. They are the standard commands from SAP. So there we can use these commands. So SR enable, yes, we can use this one. We can, so we can stop it. Then can copy the files, register the secondary. So that's fine. So we can use the commands. So let's see that this time we'll use the commands here. Okay. So HDB NS util commands. So this is the one we have to use it. So here take the notepad. So here the site name PRI primary. Okay. The site name primary here. So here the primary, we will go to the primary. We will go to the so HDB ADM, then CD exe in the executable directory, execute this one. then this command will be executed here. System replication prerequisite failed. Backup is not being executed on the primary. Please backup of your primary system. Okay. It's saying that. So backup. So take the backup of the primary here. So backup. So take the backup of the system DB as well as the tenant DB backup. Will take it out here. So I'm taking the backup. So prerequisites, backup, we have to take it out, as well as we have to take the we have to copy the keys as well that we copied yesterday, right? So if you don't copy, we may face the issues. So we have to copy the keys as well. So done, backup is done now. So in the primary, let's execute the command here. Okay, so let's see. Yes, it is connected successfully. Replication is source site is active here, right? Then secondary side. So using the commands we are performing now. It's very simple. Okay, then here we can just execute the to check if it successfully enabled the replication. So we can use the HR status here. These are the command to check the status here. Go to the secondary primary, then execute it here. Then you see, yes, its primary is active. Primary replication mode is primary is active here. Okay. So then now we are doing the secondary here. While doing the secondary, while register the secondary into primary, stop the secondary system. Okay. We need to stop the secondary system here. Okay. So let's stop the secondary system here. HDB stop command, we will use it here. So once stop the secondary system, so stop secondary. So we are following, we are nothing new. As per SAP standards only, we are following here. So then we need to exchange the keys here. We need to exchange the keys from primary to secondary. Then after that, we need to use the register command here. After that, we need to use the register command. We have to use it here, right? So here register command means, so we have to register the secondary site name is sec. So you can give differently. Then space, the remote host, primary host name is KPS4 HANA is our primary host name. Then remote instance number 00. Then space, then replication mode, either sync or sync mem, whatever it may be, you can use it here. Depends upon the your company will follow. Then operation modes, so delta data shipping or log replay. So most of the people will follow the log replay mechanism. You can use the log replay mechanism here. Okay. So same as per SAP only we are following here. So then once it is stopped here, then we can use the these commands, we can use it here. That command we can use it here. So commands, just SAP, the standard command only we are using here. One is the studio level, we know everything, we can configure it here. But second one is the here using the this one HANA HDB NSUtil OS level commands, we can use it, we can configure it here. So meanwhile, let's log in and do the copy the keys here. Copy the keys to the primary to secondary. We can copy the keys here. So SSFS keys, we have to copy it here. So this is the data and log folder here. In this folders, copy these two keys. Data and keys copied. Then I will log into the secondary here. Secondary means our secondary host. Secondary host KPS4 HANA 2. Username and password. Then here I need to copy to the slash usr sap, then sid and sys global security RSS data and keys. Data and keys we have to copy here. Okay, so we are copying, we'll override it. That is done. So this part is done. Then, so still it is not stopped status. So HDB space info. Okay, it's stopped status. Okay, then HDB NS util. Then secondary, I am executing this command here, adding the site. Here, so we have this is running. HDB stop. Okay. So now just execute the command. Adding the site is done. See, it is done. Simple command is done. Then start the system. Start the system here. Simple SAP control command, we can use it. Otherwise, so we can check the status by using this command. HDB ns util cd exe. So secondary source, secondary, okay, unknown, sync log replay unknown, okay, secondary, that is fine. So now we need to just start the system here. So SAP control -nr 00 function, then start system, start system here, done. So now we can log into the primary. We can log into the primary. So just check the replication mode, status of the services unknown. So go to the replication in the landscape tab. So it will do the replication. Slowly it will perform the replication to the primary to secondary. Sync and operational modes are getting registered. So once it is started, then connection will be established to the secondary. So secondary will be established the connection to the secondary. See, all services are active now here. So syncing is coming to the back to the normal. Yes, syncing is active now here. Sync is doing now. Sync active, which is like a so active now here. So then secondary, like that, all the services, systemdb name server in the tenant access engine and index server, those services, the sync will happen here, right? So you can check the status here. You can check the status here, sr-state. You can see the status here, right? So primary KPS4 ANA, secondary is the KPS4 ANA 2. Okay. So then log replay mechanism here. So primary masters, secondary, the logs have been routing done. So take up, so you can see the status here. Status you can observe it here. So still not yet synchronized. Why? Because full sync is happening now. So once everything is done, once all the data synchronized from the primary to secondary, so it is starting. It is starting here. It is starting status here. So we can observe the logs status information here. Go to the CD trace here. In the CD trace level, whatever the data is there here, so we can observe in the KPS4 and 2, there are a lot of database are installed. People are still installing the databases instead of practicing the installation. No one asked the questions. I informed multiple times, people are doing the installation. So log backup is pending. So log segments, log backups. So everything is getting recorded. It's getting recorded here. So refresh, it is doing the refresh. So depends upon the size of the database. It will take time. and it will come to the active status. When it comes to the active status, that time we can assume so database is fully replicated. Database is fully replicated here. Logbar should be extended. Database should be recoverable from the database. So okay. Okay, this status. So here we can check the status in the status screen or in the landscape tab, system replication. There also we can see the status here. So multiple ways we can see the status here. So this is what it will do. Once the fully data got replicated, then we can see the, okay, all the data got replicated like that. We can see that from them. Okay. So that is what we can see it here. We here DB, HDB info. And what is the status of the DB used 4 GB? Okay. So only one database is up. So which is connecting to the this one, it is replicating. So while secondary is active, while secondary you configured, you cannot access secondary from the system. You cannot access the secondary from the here from the studio. Why? Because secondary it will not accept any transaction. Secondary it will not accept any transaction here because of, so it is secondary. It is not active for the SQL statements or anything here. Just only we can see this is the secondary. So when the secondary you configured KP S402 is a secondary, you cannot add the system or you cannot access from the HANA Studio level. You cannot access because of it configured as a secondary here. Secondary here. That's why. Okay. So maybe if you want to do the takeover, right click and configure the system replication here. Configure the system replication. Then we can use the takeover commands. We can use it here. Takeover. So takeover commands we can use it. Takeover means it will take the responsibility, primary responsibility to here. In this case, it will take over here. That is called the takeover command here. Okay. So that is the replication. So replication, how we have to configure, and yesterday we have seen, and also we can monitor from the studio, or we can also check the status from the here using the HANA, using the commands, HDB NSTL commands. We can use it. So we can create here primary and a log replay mechanism, mapping primary to secondary. So then if any errors, it will be displayed here, right? So it will be fine now here, right? So only thing is it should replicate properly. It will be replicated and the data, it will come to the active status after some time. Okay. That is the replication. This is the difference between the sync mem and async, delta data shipping and log replay mechanism here. And also during the DR side, if it is the DR side, it is the primary data center. It is the primary data center. It is in the one country. This is in the secondary data center. This is in the one country here. In the normally, if the DR scenario, what will happen? So primary and secondary is on the one data center. So, and disaster recovery on the one more data center here, right? So this is the, so primary P1, primary site, and secondary, and this is the DR, disaster recovery here, right? So what will happen from here to here, the synchronization will happen here, right? From here to here, the synchronization will happen to the systems here. Then from here to here also, the synchronization will happen here. That is called the HADR scenario. So HADR scenario. This is the HA. This is a HA scenario, high availability scenario. In case of primary is down, secondary will take the responsibility. Then the data shipping will happen to the primary will happen here. So whatever the data coming to the primary, all the transactions will be replicated to the secondary here, right? This is the secondary. So then at the same time, so primary also will send the data to the DR as well, disaster recovery. So this is in the asynchronous mode. DR will be in the asynchronous. Why? Because DR is very far to the primary site. Why? Because so people, they will not HA their production site and disaster recovery site, they will not plan in the same data center. They will plan in the different data center. Why? Because due to the some issues, entire data center is gone. Your primary will be down, your secondary will be down. Then immediately the failover to the secondary DR will happen here. From here to here, people will use the sync mode here. So in case of DR scenario, then one more HANA system we have to install it, same SID on the different host, different site. Then asynchronous configuration we have to perform. So now we used the asynchronous, right? Now we have used the asynchronous as per the configuration. There we need to use the async. Just use the async on the DR side. Then that will be registered as a DR here. So three-tier replication here. Three-tier replication will be configured here. That's what. So we have to do it in the HADR scenario here. In case of production to DR is not the automatic failover. Why? Because manually, why? Because manually we need to enter data center is down. Manually we need to bring up the system. Then we need to start the operations from the DR site here, right? So that is the concept of the DR site configurations here. Okay. So got it? Normally, the high experienced people will
Ravi,
do this one. Yes, please.
Ravi, so it's the same configuration for DR. First, we need to enable an primary.
Yeah, primary anyhow we have enabled. Just we have to execute the command. Secondary command we have to execute it. Like in place of sync, we need to use the async. Then we need to just copy the command. We have to execute in the DR HANA system also. We have to execute the same.
Okay. So here we don't stop the DB, right? Already it will be in stop state.
Yes, yes. Secondary always will be in the inactive status. You cannot connect it. But
Okay.
up while the HANA process are up and running, but you cannot connect from the studio because of the it's registered as a secondary. Secondary means you cannot do the any operations in the secondary. It will be the clash, right? While the
Yeah.
primary is syncing the data to here, if you pour the data to here, then what will happen? Nothing will happen, right? That's why secondary will not be accessible. Anything it will come from the primary only, primary only, primary only. Then that's why this both are in the sync status here, consistency and sync mechanisms.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah.
So on the primary, the primary server, are we going to configure two servers there for the replication? One is S1 and one is DR.
Primary and secondary, we will configure it in the primary site, primary. Then in the another data center means separate host, we have to install the DR. This is in the separate host.
No. My question is, will primary have both registered, the secondary and the DR both?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Why? Because you are registering the both, we have to register into the primary only. So here you need to execute the command.
So,
Here you have to execute the command. Here just you have to enable the command. Here you have to enable the pipe. Here you need to link this pipe to here, and you need to link the pipe to the main pipe. Then the water flow will happen to here, and as well as the here it will happen.
And this secondary is like mem sync, or is it
Secondary will
just
be
regular?
anything, either sync or sync mem, that is fine.
Okay.
But DR
That's fine.
always should be in the async mode only. But because DR is far from the primary. If you maintain the sync, what will happen in the DR, that there will be some performance issues. Performance issues means they are the more than 100 miles distance. What will happen? Primary will send the data to the here, and it will take a lot of time. Then it will register it. Then slowly it will send the data back to the here. Why? Because of the latency. So we may face some latency issues on the primary side here. So to avoid that one, DR always should be in the async mode when we have the longer distance.
But what if they we've been pushing data to DR, but
Same data, whatever the data is getting
some of the
generated
data
is
never
valuable.
made it?
Sorry?
What if some of the data never made it to DR?
So then that's the reason what the people will do when they are invoking the DR. So they will check whether all the logs are replicated to the DR or not. Or we have to make ensure as part of the daily monitoring, everything will be replicating to the DR or not. Okay, something is
Okay.
when
I
there
got
is
it.
a problematic situation, you need to invoke the DR. What they will do, they will take the backup of the primary, then they will restore it on the DR, then they will wait for all the logs to be synchronized, then they will start the DR server.
Oh, thanks.
That is also one of the possible approach the people will follow in the organizations. Why? Because DR definitely it will be the not in consist sync mode. So definitely there will be a disconnections. So then what they will do, they will take the backup, they will restore it on the here, then so they will bring up the DR, then they will validate the data and everything.
So for primary to secondary, it is understood sync, and every save point, the data gets replicated. But for the async, what is there or it is the complete log that moves?
Yeah, same. Whatever the every log it is replicating, same log will be replicated to here as well, DR. But here it will not wait for the acknowledgement, whether it is received or not. It will not bother. So it keep on sending the logs to the secondary as well as they keep on sending to the DR as well. But it will not. The primary will not wait for the acknowledgement from the when it is in the asynchronous mode. But here it will wait for the confirmation. Okay, whether it is received, okay, done. Then it will send another transaction.
Okay, now there is another problem now. So for the log file system, do we have some kind of like high-speed storage, or is it just the regular storage that we use? Because seems like maybe we would need some kind of solid state disk there for the logs.
Logs status. So status means as soon as the transaction is committed, it will generate the log, right?
Correct.
That will be transferred to the respect to the target systems.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.